Here are my flashcards.
How many of you know someone who had a baby as a teenager? The answer is probably going to be yes for most of you. If not, 3 in 10 teens will get pregnant at least once by the age of 20. That is almost 751,000 teen pregnancies every year. Teen pregnancies have declined over the years, but the numbers are still large and are still very relevant in today's society. Not only are there many pregnancies among teen women, there are also many sexually transmitted diseases, both in men and women. The CDC estimates people ages 14 and 15 make up 1/4 of the sexually active population, but make up half of the 20 million new STD cases every year. Both pregnancies and contracting an STD can dramatically affect a teenager's life. Not only does it affect the teen themselves, it can affect their family and the people around them. Women go through many mental and physical changes during and after pregnancy and face many new challenges. These include postpartum depression, which are both actually higher in teens than in adults, restless nights, attempting to finish high school, making doctor's appointments, limited financial resources, and many more. According to N.R. Hall, an article from Healthline.com, teen moms are 2 times more likely to experience postpartum depression as their adult counterparts. Not only is the mother of the child affected, the father and the child themselves is also affected. The father also has more financial responsibility, emotional stress, and families not being accepting of them. Both the mother and father may have to end their education earlier than intended to take care of the baby. The baby may be born into a family of financial hardships, emotional stress, lower education, or an unideal environment. According to the CDC, children of teenage mothers are at greater risk for lower birth rate, infant mortality, more likely to drop out of high school, and lower employment. If the parents are unable to fully take care of the child, then their parents may have to take on the unexpected role of becoming another parent to the child. The child's grandparents may have to watch them while their parents are at school, or if they're able to continue work while they're at work. They may also have to help with the child financially, along with medical costs, which can be very expensive. All these things can lead to stress and conflict within the family and can ruin relationships. Found on healthychildren.org, a medical website, sexually transmitted diseases include chlamydia, crabs, genital herpes or warts, HIV, AIDS, gonorrhea, and many more. STDs, or sexually transmitted diseases, can cause long-term health complications and cause infections to infants born to infected mothers. Treating STDs can be very costly, as well as some aren't even treatable. Now that you know a little bit more about how teen pregnancies and sexually transmitted diseases can affect both parents of the child as well as their parents and guardians, you will better understand the importance of birth control, such as condoms and Plan B, to be provided in middle schools throughout college without parental consent. Many people would think that a teenager in middle school or high school must inform their parents or get their parents' consent when getting any kind of birth control. A common misconception is that providing contraceptions to teenagers in schools will encourage them to have sex. However, this can be very problematic, and research proves that. Many people believe that not providing birth control or sexual education to minors in schools would decrease sexual activity in teens. However, this is not the case. Teenagers are going to continue to have sexual intercourse, simply making that more of a dangerous option. According to ACLU.org, or the American Civil Libertarians Union, medical experts caution that when teenagers cannot obtain contraceptions without involving a parent, they are less likely to protect themselves from unintended pregnancy, and STDs. These medical experts also oppose laws that require teens to involve their parents due to this. The only thing this does is keep them from getting the protection and treatment tools that they need to keep them safe and to keep them from getting pregnant and STDs. According to the ACLU, again, every year 3 million U.S. teenagers contract a sexually transmitted disease, and a sexually active teen who does not use contraception has a 90% chance of getting pregnant within 1 year. If schools were able to provide birth control options without parental consent, these numbers could be reduced. There are not many schools in the U.S. that provide family planning health care, such as contraceptive to students. However, there is some research showing the impact of doing so. According to Skeely from aacap.org, an organization that promotes healthy development of children, states, currently 35% of all schools districts have policies that restrict sexual education and the teaching of abstinence. Among schools in the South, 55% of schools have such policies. The rates of teen pregnancy are significantly higher than the national average. Another quote, despite how low teenage birth rates in the U.S., the rate is twice as high in Canada and 4 times the rate in France and Sweden. The teens in countries with lower teen birth rates have ready access to sexual education and contraceptive services and are more likely to use highly effective contraceptive methods such as the pill. As you can see, when efforts are made, the numbers decrease. Many schools don't even have sexual education classes. Imagine if that combined with birth control, what that could do to the numbers of unwanted teen pregnancies and STDs. With more research on this topic, as well as it being talked about, has increased people's favor in this. ACAP.org says, a recent nationwide poll of parents showed that 67% of them approved of schools providing birth control to teenagers. But of that, 37% of this group thought that there should be parental consent. Nationwide, less than 5% of high schools and only about 1% of middle schools make condoms available to students. It is so important that people hop on the board and realize the importance of not having parental consent in providing birth control at schools. Many teens do not have an open relationship with their parents and feel uncomfortable talking to them about sex, which makes sense. As you were a teen, you probably did not want to talk to your parents about sex. So they're not going to talk to them about it, so they're not going to get the information needed, and they're not going to be safe and protected. Many parents have different views on sex and what they want for their child. Unfortunately, teens will be teens, and they're going to do what they want and find a way to do it. As parents, it's important to realize that do what you can do to keep them safe, healthy, educated, and protected. That's the most important thing. It is clear that accidental or unwanted teenage pregnancies can be life-altering for both parents as well as the family from all different kinds of standpoints: financial, physical, and emotional. Many teenagers are not provided with the things that they need to protect themselves during sex. Our schools and some parents fail to educate their children about sex and the safety and consequences that come with that. If there were birth control options provided in schools, the number of sexually transmitted diseases and teen pregnancies could significantly decrease. It is very important to realize that teens are going to have sex no matter what, and we need to do everything we can to make sure that they have the resources available to keep them safe and protected. Although there are not many schools that have adapted this, the schools that have see lower numbers. It's important for everyone in society to help educate teens on sex and push for schools to allow birth control without parental consent.